In this video, we'll discuss about the prokaryotic cells, its structures as well as its features and their roles. Living organisms are made with the cells. If the cells are without nuclear membrane, then usually we call it as the prokaryotic cells. So to define this one, prokaryotic cells can be defined as these are the unicellular organisms that lack nucleus as well as membrane-bound cell organelles. So in the case of prokaryotic cells, usually nucleus as well as membrane-bound cell organelles are absent. When we compare this prokaryotic cell with the eukaryotic cell, we can understand the basic difference between the eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. In the case of eukaryotic cell, well-defined nucleus is present. Along with that, membrane-bound cell organelles like Golgi complex, endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, then this mitochondria, all these components are present. But whereas in the case of prokaryotic organisms, well-defined nucleus is absent. Additionally, these membrane-bound cell organelles are also absent. Then coming to the general features or general characteristics of the prokaryotes, scientists have studied prokaryotes for centuries, but it was not until 1966. In that year, Thomas Bragg, a scientist, he discovered the presence of the certain bacteria in the boiling water also. So then the scientists realized that these prokaryotes are able to survive the extreme environmental conditions also. Then scientists they started observing the presence of these prokaryotic organisms under the all extreme conditions like bottom of the ocean, the high altitudes, and inside the volcanoes, and even on the other planets also. The common examples for these prokaryotes are bacteria as well as blue-green algae as well as mycoplasma. So in the case of this bacteria, based on the shape of the bacteria, these are classified as Bacillus. In Bacillus, the bacteria is with rod shape, and Coccus with spherical shape, and Vibrio with comma shape, and Spirillum with a spiral shape. Then the bacterial shape, the Coccus is round, and illustration and electron microscopic image also we can see here, and the Bacillus rod shape, Vibrio comma shape or curved shape. And next one, Coccobacillus short rod-like, and Spirillum spiral shape, and Spirochetes long and loose helical spiral in shape. Other examples are the blue-green algae and Mycoplasma. Blue-green algae, otherwise known as the cyanobacteria. The cyanobacteria are the bacteria that evolved from early phototrophs and lived in the oxygenated atmosphere, and these are also called as the blue-green algae. As this is comes under the prokaryotic organisms, in this cyanobacteria, we cannot find the true nucleus as well as the membrane-bound cell organelles are also absent in the case of cyanobacteria. Coming to the other example, that is Mycoplasma, otherwise known as PPLO. This Mycoplasma is a genus of bacteria that lacks a cell wall. The main difference here, usually in the case of the bacteria, they contain the cell wall. The bacteria, the genus of the bacteria that lack a cell wall is known as the Mycoplasma. Here we can see the Mycoplasma, where this Mycoplasma is lacking the cell wall. Then coming to the other features, usually these bacteria they are without a well-defined nucleus. Then there is no nuclear membrane, so they are without a nuclear membrane. So usually that naked genomic material is present in the case of prokaryotes. So usually that naked genomic material is a single chromosome or circular DNA, and the area where it is present in the prokaryotic cell is known as the nucleoid. So to define this nucleoid is that means it's a nucleus-like. Here the nucleoid is an irregularly shaped region. It's an irregularly shaped region within the prokaryotic cell that contains all or most of the genetic material. That means this is the reason in the cytoplasm of the prokaryotic organisms. Here we can see this, the area, the condensed area present inside the green dotted area is the nucleoid phase. Here we can see the genetic material. In some bacteria, in addition to the chromosomal DNA, so some bacteria they possess the extra chromosomal DNA, otherwise known as extra genomic DNA. And this extra chromosomal DNA is known as the plasmid. When you look at this bacteria, then these are the bacterial DNA, these are the chromosomal DNA. And in addition to this chromosomal DNA, some bacteria they possess the extra chromosomal DNA, and this extra chromosomal DNA is known as the plasmid. Yeah, so now we can define the plasmid as these are the small extra chromosomal double-stranded DNA molecules within a cell that is physically separated from the chromosomal DNA and can replicate independently. That means during the division, they can synthesize, they can double their genetic material by themselves without depending on the chromosomal DNA. And this plasmid usually that gives unique phenotypic characters are like resistant to the antibiotic. This plasmid may be sometimes they are having the additional genes that is responsible for survival in the presence of ampicillin also. That means this gene is giving resistant to the organism, ampicillin resistant to the organism to survive in the presence of ampicillin also. In addition, then these plasmids are used to monitor the bacterial transformation in the case of recombinant industry. Even this membrane-bound cell organelles also absent in the case of prokaryotic cell. Then coming to the components that present in the case of prokaryotic cell. Usually they contain a cell wall. Then cell wall is the rigid cell covering comprised of various molecules that protect the cell and which provides structural support and gives shape to the cell. So usually cell wall is present in the case of all bacteria except in the case of Mycoplasma. So in the case of this Mycoplasma, usually cell wall is absent. The other important component that is present in the case of prokaryotic organism is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is the entire region that is present in between the plasma membrane and the nuclear envelope, and which consisting of organelles suspended in the gel-like cytosol and the cytoskeleton and various other chemicals also present in the case of this cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is the common component present in the case of all living organisms. In this cytoplasm, usually non-membrane bone cell organelles are present in the case of prokaryotic organisms. So as already we discussed that in the case of prokaryotic organisms, membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, they are absent. But it contains non-membrane-bound organelles like, first let us see then what is this non-membrane-bound organelles. Non-membrane-bound organelles, that means these are the large biomolecule complex. So these non-membrane bound organelles, that means the large biomolecular complexes, these are large assemblies of macromolecules that carry out a particular and specialized function, but usually they lack the membrane boundaries. So here these are the large assemblies of macromolecules that carry out a particular or specific function, but they don't possess the membrane boundaries, and this kind of organelles are called as the non-membrane bound organelles. Then what are that? So non-membrane bound organelles like ribosomes are present in the case of prokaryotes. So these ribosomes are the cellular structures that carry out protein synthesis. So ribosomes are present in the case of both eukaryotic organisms as well as prokaryotic organisms. They carry out protein synthesis both in the case of eukaryotes as well as prokaryotes. Then coming to the features with respect to the ribosomes that are present in the case of prokaryotes. These are associated with the cell membrane and the size is around 15 nanometers to 20 nanometers, and the subunits present in the case of these ribosomes are 50S and 30S. So overall, when they are active, usually these large and small subunit join together and forms the functional ribosome, that is 70S. So in the case of these prokaryotic ribosomes, these are composed with the two subunits. So one is the smaller subunit, that is 30S, and the larger subunit is 50S. When they are actively doing the protein synthesis. Usually these two units join together and forms a 70S complete ribosome. In the case of these ribosomes, many ribosomes join to a single mRNA. Many ribosomes during the functional activity, many ribosomes join to the single mRNA and that forms the polyribosome. So to define this polyribosome, then we can define in this polyribosome as mRNA molecules simultaneously being translated by many ribosomes are going in the same direction. So here mRNA that is associated with many ribosomes is considered as the polyribosome, otherwise known as a polysome. Here we can see the pink color one is the mRNA, and this mRNA is associated with many ribosomes, and the protein is synthesized. We can observe here that black dots. So here many ribosomes are attached here, and this mRNA with many ribosomal units that are associated are considered as the polyribosome. Yeah, this is about the polyribosome, where mRNA, single mRNA is associated with many ribosomal molecules. And now coming to the specific features with respect to the prokaryotic cells are the presence of the inclusion bodies. Then what are these inclusion bodies? Inclusion bodies are the cytoplasmic aggregates. So these are the cytoplasmic aggregates of stainable substances, usually that is made with proteins and reserve food materials. Then look at this one. Then what is meant by these aggregates? Nothing but this is a mass which is formed by the gathering of different kinds of the units. So this is the unorganized mass present in the case of prokaryotic cells. So these inclusion bodies are the cytoplasmic aggregates of the stainable substance, usually that is made with proteins as well as the reserve food material. And here we can observe the inclusion bodies here. These are the inclusion bodies. These are the unorganized aggregates present in the case of cytoplasm of the prokaryotic organisms. So usually these inclusion bodies are the stored reserve food materials that are without membrane, and examples are the phosphate granules as well as cyanophilin granules and glycogen granules. So different kinds of the biochemical constituents are present in the case of these inclusion bodies. Here we can see the polyhydroxy butyrate lipid droplets also you can see here, and here we can see the aggregates present inside the bacterial cell. So in this way, inclusion bodies are present in the case of prokaryotic organisms. Let us see what is the reason behind for the formation of these inclusion bodies. Usually, these prokaryotic organisms they live in the unstable environments. So whenever they find the food, that excess nutrients are stored as inclusion bodies and stored inside the cytoplasm. So these are the reserve food materials. Whenever the bacteria finds the sufficient amount of nutrients, they are stored as inclusion bodies. That means these inclusion bodies are the reserve food materials mainly. In addition to this one, many other chemical combinations also present in the case of inclusion bodies. Next, another important component present in the case of prokaryotic cell is the cell envelope. This cell envelope is nothing but it's a collective structures. Cell envelope is a collective structures that encloses the cytoplasm and internal structure of the cell. And they are collective structures may be differ from cell to cell. Most of the prokaryotic cell comprises inner cell membrane, cell wall of the bacterium. In the case of gram-positive, mainly the outer membrane also present. In gram-negative bacteria, like in the case of E. coli, usually sometimes that outer component is present. So this cell envelope is with a tightly bound three-layered structure. This is a tightly bound three-layered structure. Here we can see the three layers here. The capsule, cell wall and the plasma membrane. These three collectively considered as the cell envelope. So here this cell envelope is the tightly bound three-layered structure that contains the outer glycocalyx, the cell wall and the plasma membrane. So plasma membrane, cell wall and outer glycocalyx, these are the three components usually collectively considered as the cell envelope. Then coming to the plasma membrane. And this plasma membrane can be defined as that it's a phospholipid bilayer which contains integral and peripheral proteins and that separates the cell internal content from its surrounding environment. So plasma membrane is the delimiting, that means that forms the boundaries to the cell and which separates the cell from the external environment. So usually that is made with a lipid bilayer and which contains integral as well as peripheral proteins also. So usually this is considered as a semi-permeable. That means usually plasma membrane do not allow the passing of all the molecules across it. So selectively it allows the movement of the certain molecules. That's why we call it as the semi-permeable membrane. And sometimes usually in the case of these prokaryotes, this plasma membrane forms inward extensions. So here sometimes this prokaryotic plasma membrane that forms inward extensions. Then this is the plasma membrane. Here we can see the inward extensions of the plasma membrane. Then what we call is inward extensions. These inward extensions are called as the mesosomes. So to define this one precisely, these mesosomes can define as these are the coiled tubular infoldings of the cytoplasmic membrane that is mostly present in the case of gram-positive bacteria, rarely present in the case of gram-negative bacteria like E. coli, that is Escherichia coli. If you look at the way how these mesosomes are produced, the formation of these mesosomes involves a series of events that starts with the infolding of the peripheral membrane as a mesosomal sac. So this is the initially this is the plasma membrane infolding as a sac like this bag-like structure. Later this further undergoes the further developments and finally that forms the lamella and different kinds of the vesicles and as well as the tubules also. And finally this is the mesosome. Then these are the mesosomes are nothing but the infoldings of the plasma membrane. Then what are the functions of these mesosomes? So usually these mesosomes are useful for the formation of the cell wall. And next one, they are for the synthesis of DNA. DNA replication means the synthesis of DNA and distribution of this DNA to the daughter cell during the cell division. And other additional important functions are they are equal to the mitochondria of the eukaryotic organisms and they are being involved in the respiration and the secretion processes and it increases the surface area, overall surface area for happening of the all the biochemical metabolic activities. And the enzymatic content also, high amount of enzymatic content also present in the case of mesosomes. Coming to the other important functions are the cell wall. In the case of this cell wall, as we discussed, this is a rigid cell covering comprises of various molecules that protect the cell and provides structural support and gives a shape to the cell. Usually cell wall is present in the case of all prokaryotic organisms except in the case of a mycoplasma. So usually this cell wall gives a shape as well as structural support and which avoids bursting or collapsing of the plasma membrane, as it is rigid in nature usually, that protects the cell. Then coming to the last one, that is outer glycocalyx layer. Then to define this outer glycocalyx layer, then this glycocalyx is a fuzzy appearing coating. This is the fuzzy appearing. Then what is this fuzzy? So it's like a covering with fine light heats. So here the fuzzy means the covering with the fine light heats. A fuzzy appearing a coating present around the cell, and which is formed with glycoproteins, glycolipids, and other carbohydrates attached to the cell membrane of some bacteria, epithelial cells in the case of higher organisms also we can see, and even in the case of other cells also. Here you can see that the hair-like appearance, a fuzzy appearance around the cell. This extracellular content is considered as the glycocalyx. Hair-like appearance we can observe here. And this outer glycocalyx differs in the case of different kinds of the organisms. So the difference with respect to the composition as well as thickness. So here if you observe this one, then this is the sixth one is the glycocalyx layer. That means this glycocalyx layer, the combination and the size of the particular glycocalyx layer, that is the outermost covering, that differs from organism to organism. In which way these are different, let us see. So based on this composition thickness, usually some bacteria they possess it as a loose sheath, and this loose sheath is considered as the a slime layer. If the outer glycocalyx is present as a loose sheath, then we call it as the slime layer. If this outer glycocalyx layer is thick and tough, then we call it as the capsule. Here we can see the capsule here. Yeah, this is a tough layer. Then this tough outer glycocalyx is known as the capsule. Then what is the significance of this particular capsule? Capsules make bacterial surface components more slippery. So because of this slippery nature, that protects the bacterial cell from ingestion and destruction by the white blood cells. That means that is useful to avoid the recognition of the immune system in the case of host cell. So presence of capsule in the case of Streptococcus pneumoniae. In the presence of this capsule in the Streptococcus pneumoniae, that is the important factor that is making the bacteria to cause pneumonia. That means that is avoiding the immune system of the host cell. So this is about the three major components collectively considered as the cell envelope. So again we can see here cell envelope. This is with a tightly bound three layer, and these are with a plasma membrane from inside and middle cell wall and the outer glycocalyx. Again this outer glycocalyx is maybe a slime layer, otherwise a capsule based on the thickness. Next coming to the based on the different composition. That means the cell envelope is with different composition thickness in the case of different bacteria. So based on this one, this bacteria can be classified into gram positive as well as gram negative. So that based on the gram staining. So here in the case of this gram positive bacteria, usually that purely depends on the peptidoglycan layer, that is the cell wall. In the case of gram positive bacteria, they possess the high amount of the peptidoglycan layer. But in the case of gram negative, here we can see the gram negative here. Yeah, here we can see the gram negative here. In the case of gram negative, this brown, the peptidoglycan layer is thin when compared to that of the gram positive bacteria. In the case of gram positive bacteria, the peptidoglycan layer thickness is very high compared to that of the gram negative bacterial peptidoglycan layer. When the primary stain, that is crystal violet, is applied on the bacteria, this crystal violet, and when it is fixed with the iodine treatment, usually that crystal violet is strongly, because the peptidoglycan layer is very thick in the case of gram positive, and crystal violet strongly bound to the peptidoglycan layer. But in the case of gram negative, the peptidoglycan layer is very thin and that is unable to bind to the peptidoglycan layer very strongly. So that is the reason when these cultures are decolorized in the presence of the alcohol. That means whenever alcohol is applied, as the bond is very strong in the case of gram positive, the gram positive bacteria can retain the color. And but whereas in the case of gram negative bacteria, the peptidoglycan layer is very thin. So whenever we decolorize the particular bacterial cell, that loses its color. So that's why when counter stain is added to the saffron as the counter stain, in the case of gram positive bacteria, as the primary stain itself is present in the peptidoglycan, then there is no chance for the binding of the second stain. But in the case of gram negative bacteria, so during the destaining, decolorization, the initial color crystal violet was removed. So now the second counter stain, saffron, that is saffron, is occupied in the case of peptidoglycan. So here usually in the case of gram positive bacteria, usually we observe as a violet color, and this gram negative usually we observe gram negative bacteria we will observe in the pink color. Yeah, here we can see violet stained gram positive bacteria, that is cocci here, and pink stained gram negative bacillus you can see here. Another important feature that is present in the case of prokaryotic cell is the presence of the cell surface appendages. In the case of these organisms, we can see some specific cell surface appendages. Even these cell surface appendages are present in the case of eukaryotic organisms also. These appendages are nothing but these are the external body part that projected from the body. These are the external body part that projects from the body. From the inside the body, usually these appendages come out of the body. So here in the case of this bacteria, let us see what are the cell surface appendages or filamentous appendages present. So many bacterial cells, they have protein appendages embedded within their cell envelope that extended outward, and that is allowing the interaction with the environment. So many bacterial cells, they have the protein appendages embedded within their cell envelope that extend outwards and allowing the interaction with the environment also. These appendages can attach to other surfaces, transfer DNA, or provide movements. Filamentous appendages include the fimbriae, pili, as well as the flagella. So let us see what are these three different components here. So these cell surface appendages are proteinaceous tubular or fibrous structures, and that is extended from surface of the cell wall. And then coming to the functions of this particular cell surface appendages, usually they are useful for the locomotion, attachment, adhesion, as well as they assist in the genetic exchange of the genetic material also. Then coming to the types, here we will discuss about the flagella, fimbriae, and pili. Then coming to the flagella, first let us discuss about the flagella. Flagella are structures used by cells to move in aqueous environment. Bacterial like flagella, they act as the propellers. They are the stiff spiral filamentous composed of flagellin protein, and these are extended outward from the cell and spin in the solution. So we will see then what are the components present in the case of flagellum also. So these are the filamentous extensions of our locomotion. So usually these are based on the presence or absence of this flagellum. based on the locomotion also, usually we can divide prokaryotic organisms into motile as well as non-motile. In the case of motile, they can move, and in the case of non-motile, they don't move. Then coming to the extensions. These extensions are variation with respect to the number as well as arrangement. And the basic components present in the case of a flagellum are they are with basal body, hook as well as the filament. Here we can see the basal structure of the flagellum here in the case of gram positive bacterium and in the case of gram negative bacterium. So mainly the difference will be at the basal body. So basal body is present inside the organism, and the rest of that a filament. Here you can see the filament and the joining hook also you can see here. So the difference between this gram positive bacterium and gram negative bacterial flagellum mainly differs at the basal body. So here this other important one is the hook and the other one is the filament. And filament is the longest component present in the case of flagellum that extend outside the body. This is about the flagellum. Then coming to the fimbriae. Then what is this fimbriae? Short bristle-like protein projecting from the cell surface by the hundreds. So fimbriae enable cell to attach to the surface and to other cells also. So for pathogenic bacteria, adherence to a host cell is an important for colonization. Here we can see the small bristle fimbriae we can see here. Usually one or two fimbriae flagellum are present. Many fimbriae present in the case of bacteria. So this fimbriae is the small bristle-like fibers comes out from the cell, and that is helpful for attachment of the bacteria to the host cell mainly. Here we can see that attachment of bacteria to the host cell. Then this is the fimbriae, and with the help of this fimbriae that is attaching to the host cell. Yeah, here also you can see that with the help of fimbriae only that is attaching to the host cell. And coming to the last pili. This pili is longer, less numerous protein appendages that aid in attachment to the surface. So usually here pili is less in number and longer in size. Here you can see the pili. And fimbriae usually they are many in number. And the main function of this pili is in some bacteria that acts as the sex pili. And here you can see here this donor cell is developing this particular pilus. Later that pilus is used for the joining of these two bacteria. Then genetic material is transferred from donor cell to the recipient cells. Then after that the two cells are able to donate the plasmid to other bacteria.